I just wing it again. So I just like to start off by just telling everybody a little bit about my time in Scouts. I was originally, of course, like any young kid, was in Cub Scouts. I started when I was about 6 years old, I think in first grade. My dad took me to my first meeting. And, Cub Scouts, it's good, but, it's a little soft compared to regular Boy Scouts. The meetings it's like one camp out to a year, and then some arts and crafts in between. But, it was still a great experience, but it really started when I moved on to Scouts, crossing over to Troop 14 when I was 10 or 11, and 5th grade, around that time. I remember my first meeting there at the church down on Oneida Street. It was just me, a couple other kids that moved up, and a room full of guys that just seemed like giants. These were seniors and in high school and juniors and sophomores, and so on. And I felt like I was the dirt below their feet. And it was an interesting experience being it's such a wide age range. But after got in and got my scout badge, got my tenderfoot, started to warm up to it. I guess a little message to the younger scouts, especially because we have so many this year. You may hit that rough patch like I did. When I was probably in about 7th or 8th grade, it's Tuesday night, gotta go down to Scouts, work on merit badges. I'd rather be doing something else, playing video games or whatever I was into back then. But it was after my first big camping experience with Troop 14. It was Yellowstone. My dad and I went, and I was so glad we could go and share that experience together. And I got to really get close with my fellow scouts, and really, I felt like, for the first time, one with the troop. I was part of Troop 14. And after that, I think anybody that knows something about Troop 14, that one thing is the trips that we take. We go around the world. Just this past summer, we went to Germany, and for me, it wasn't just where Troop 14 took me in the world, but just as a person. I started out, just like any little kid, wanted to watch cartoons and eat candy and whatever. But Troop 14 really helped me become who I am today. And it's just an experience I would never take back, and I'll carry with me forever. And if I'm fortunate enough to have a son when I'm an adult, then I would hands down introduce him to Cub Scouts, and hopefully he would want to move on to Boy Scouts. So do younger kids that are starting out, just if it ever gets a little boring or dull, just stick with it. It's really worth it in the end. So that's what I think about Troop 14 anyway. It's just, it takes you places in the world, and scouting in general does this. It takes you to places you never thought you'd go, just as a person and a human being. So that's just a little bit about my scouting experience. I wanted to talk about do the thank you speech. So first I'd like to start off by thanking my fellow scouts. You guys are excellent. I think you should give them a round of applause. It's a long journey ahead of you for most of you, but it's really worth it in the end. And specifically, I'd like to thank my best friend Josiah Vedessa, who's here today over there. Josiah and I we've spent a lot of freezing nights in sub-zero temperatures in tents, and then to the hot mosquito-filled summers, at summer camp. And he was there for me all the way, and I was there for him, and it was a great experience going through with him. And everybody, he's getting his eagle. He's on deck, so pretty soon, mark your calendars. And next, I'd like to thank a couple guys who are unfortunately aren't with the troop right now, but will still always be a part of it. A couple Troop 14 legends. Jim Durain and Mike Fitzsimmons could not be here tonight, but a couple great guys. Really wish they could be here. They were there with me in the beginning, like Mr. Kozlowski and Mr. Ivory, and have been, and helping me along the way. And next, I'd like to thank the Dean of Advancement, who unfortunately is again not here, but we're YouTubing this for him to see. Mr. Pratt, like I said, he was our Dean of Advancement. He helped Scouts with with rank advancements and being on time. And honestly, I was a special case. In the last year, I've probably earned more merit badges than I have in the other 5 or how many years I've been in Scouts. So I've probably around like 10 or 11 merit badges. And Mr. Pratt was there, sat me down almost a year ago today, and told me that I have to do this, get to this point, so I can move on to the next point. And without him, and all the other leaders, I wouldn't be here today. And I'd also like to thank our cameraman tonight, Mr. Ivory, who's also been there for hours of cell phone and electronic free entertainment on our campouts. So, next I'd like to thank Mr. John Devlin and his wife, Mrs. Donna Devlin, and their beautiful daughter Lauren, who also happens to be my girlfriend. And
real smooth, Sam.
I think suave is the word. But without them, I also wouldn't be up here. Before them, I didn't even have a project. I was looking, I couldn't find it, and for those of you who don't know, Mr. Devlin, and who's also served a big purpose. Another person is Mr. Paul Obenesser. He's also here as well by Mr. Devlin. They're both leaders of Troop 4, and I'm so glad that they came over and helped us Rebel Troop 14 Scouts. So, without Mr. Devlin and his family, I wouldn't have been able to do this. He found a project for me, helped me with the paperwork, and his son Sean, he's not here tonight, but he went through the same process several years ago, and building the picnic tables, that was I give thanks to Mr. Obenesser, who really organized all that, and he let me use his personal workshop to really help me build, because I don't know a thing about power tools and wrenches and screws and everything like that as much as my father has tried to teach me over the years. So thank you to them, and it's just another group of people who I wouldn't be here without. And next, I'd like to thank my parents and my grandparents and aunts and uncles and younger siblings. Without their support and encouragement, this wouldn't be possible. And finally, I'd like to thank our fearless leader, and Kaz, why don't you come up here?
Sam was a lot shorter when he first joined the team.
I'd like to thank our...
I didn't have many gray hairs either.
Yeah, don't flatter yourself, Kaz. I'd just like to thank Mr. Kozlowski, great big role model in my life, and for this troop, for his years and years of service. He's been in here, since the beginning, even when he was a scout. So
since the Chester Archer administration.
I was just gonna say probably around the 1915, something about there. But Mr. Kozlowski and like Mr. Devlin and Mr. Obenesser, 3 prime examples of how great Scouts is and the great men and women that help our Scouts and live up to their expectations. Really make Scouts what it is. People look at Scouts now, it's kind of become, it's like those, stupid, sports, are better, and I'm trying to think what else. I'm sure there's also a few other choice words that people have had for Scouts over the years, but, these men are really what makes Scouts the great program it is today, so I think they also deserve a round of applause. That's it for me, and I I'd just like to do in honor of the great late newscaster Tim Russert. I'd just like to say goodnight and go Bills.
Sam.